Hi, it's Rick Harsh of Corona Samizdat. And the funniest thing I saw today was about a rabbi. And so I guess the best way to say it is, did you hear the one about the rabbi in Jerusalem? Um, he's in this Jerusalem neighborhood that they're trying to cleanse of Palestinians. And they do it by getting this money from an NGO in the United States, nonprofit organization, I guess. Maybe it's not an NGO. I don't know. It's nonprofit anyway. And they get the money and they buy land from before the Nakba, you know, and you know I don't know if they even can prove that they did it, but they buy the land and then they get a lady who's lived her whole life in this little house kicked out. She's a little old lady from Israel. She's Palestinian, living in Israel, and the rabbi is just loud and just screaming and got to get this lady out. And he's surrounded by guys from the United States who are helping the process. Then they cut to Virginia, where he's from, and where he lives. And we just want to ask you one question. They're from Al Jazeera. Can we just ask you one question? I wanted to ask you about, why are you trying to kick this lady out of her house? Where did the money come from to kick this lady out of her house? And, what's a rabbi from Virginia doing, trying to kick an old lady out of her house? And where'd you get the money for buying up the land and, all that stuff? It was just... it's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. I know it's a very serious situation and all that, but there are some really funny things going on. But I'm not going to go into that because what I wanted to talk about was Patreon. I remember I first heard about Patreon when a really, really dull witted guy who I just had to know because friends knew him, and he was in the well-known Iowa news network. He worked for a newspaper there, he's on Patreon. It's really great because you get on Patreon and then you get supporters paying for you and all of this stuff. People can sign up and they pay €5 a month. And that's all they have to pay. So it's not really that much, and you can make a living on Patreon. That's what I heard. But I'm lazy about looking up stuff like that, and since then, Patreon's become a really big deal. And what I understood though at that time was that if you just do what you're doing, like I have a booktube. And if I was on Patreon, I would just keep posting my booktubes. But what seems to be happening is people on Patreon are now using it to do what they call supplying extra, I would call it superfluous probably, content. And so it's become this thing now. If you wanna see us really do a good job, join Patreon because, we have a special show. The really good stuff is on Patreon. And I think, it just strikes me as really funny. And I thought I'd talk about Patreon to that degree and only that degree. So I'm done. This is a short video. And I think most people who follow me would be very happy to see a video that's under 10 minutes. It's under 5. Yeah. Well, I'll keep going then. Yeah. So Patreon, if you want to see me dance naked while I do book reviews, establish Patreon for me. I can't do it myself. I don't really. I just can't. And try to understand that. It's not sheer laziness. It's maybe there's humility involved as well. But if you establish Patreon for me, the people who pay to watch me will get to see me dance naked on my balcony I'll do it in the winter too, and do book reviews, incisive book reviews with music that's appropriate to the dance or dance appropriate to the music. I'll even take, people who actually pay to support me will be able to choose the kind of music they want me to dance with. That's how, like if those who pay $500 a month will be eligible to nominate music, I'm including Shostakovich in that. I will dance to Shostakovich, and that's a promise. Thank you. Support my Patreon. It doesn't exist, but do we?